Okay, so let's do this again. Now I'm looking for the values of theta where the tangent line is horizontal. So what does horizontal slope mean? That means slope is 0, right? Slope is 0. All right, so that's going to be where the numerator is 0. Because of the nature of this product rule, the denominator and numerator will never have common factors. In this, used to be a problem in T-land. Sometimes in T's you had to cancel, but in here you will never have a common factor here. So we can, if I want to find the tangent line is horizontal, that is just the same as just making the numerator equal to 0. So I'm going to have 1 plus sine of theta times cosine of theta plus sine of theta times the derivative, which is a cosine of theta. So I'm setting that equal to 0. Okay, big deal. Never divide through by a common factor. So I see cosines are in common, and you might be tempted to divide through by cosine, but don't. You'll lose answers. So the best thing to do is to factor out your common factor. And so I get 1 plus sine theta from here, and then another sine theta from here, right? This times this gives me this, and this times this gives me this. Okay, that's all equal to 0. So I have cosine of theta equals 0, sine of theta, 2 sine of theta plus 1 is 0. So I got 2 equations to solve for, right? So this gives me, oh, and remember, this is a cardioid, so it's just 0 to 2 pi to go around. So when does cosine of theta equal 0? So that's going to be pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So this here is like saying solving sine of theta is negative 1/2, and when does that happen? That gives me the angles of back here and here, right? So 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. So these 2 angles and these 2 angles. Okay, so tangent line vertical is going to be when the denominator is equal to 0, right? Denominator is equal to 0 when it doesn't exist. So I want this here. So, whoops. So this is going to give me negative r times sine theta plus cosine theta times the derivative of this, right, gives me a negative sine theta. And this is what I'm setting equal to 0. Again, do not divide by common factors. But I notice there's a negative sign in common between both of them, right? So I'm going to factor out my negative sine of theta. And what's left once I factor out a negative sine theta? So if I factor out a negative sine theta, I'm left with 1 plus cosine of theta from this first term. The second term, I'm left with cosine theta. So equals 0, so negative sine theta, 1 plus 2 cosine theta. Okay, so I can divide through by the negative, so I'm really just worried about the sine equaling 0 and the cosine equaling negative 1/2. So this is going to be at 0 and pi, and I guess I could put 2 pi. I don't really need to because it's the same as 0, correct? And when is cosine equal to negative 1/2? That's going to be, 2 pi over 3, right? 2 pi over 3 or 4 pi over 3. So those angles there.